this is Dona Speir with Recovery Today magazine, The Naked Truth. Boots on the ground. It's so important for me to give voices to those people who are out in the trenches, doing the dirty work, saving the lives of those alcoholic addicts. Today, I've got Judith Roberts with Hope Manor from Bismarck, North Dakota. She is the founder and director of Hope Manor. She gave up her career as a criminal defense attorney to do what most of us would never want to do. Today, I want to introduce you to Judith. Judith, hi, welcome to Naked Truth.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Judith, I want to ask you a little bit about your story. How you're sober, like most of us, but you were a criminal defense attorney. How did you end up opening Hope Manor? What happened? Where did you come from? What is your story?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll just do the highlights. Yes, my background is an attorney, and I had several different jobs throughout being an attorney, all the way from being legal counsel to the Supreme Court justice to ending up in criminal defense work. Once I got sober, I ended up being hired by the state of North Dakota. I relocated to North Dakota, and I was hired by North Dakota to give legal representation out in oil country during the oil boom. And I can tell you that's rock and roll kind of law. And it was very, very interesting. And I would commute to oil country during the week and go home on the weekends. It was hard. And as I mentioned, I was sober. Mm-hmm. And what I started noticing, I was newly sober. I was about 4 years sober at that point in time, just growing and learning myself, mm-hmm. and building that foundation. But what I noticed while I was doing this work out there in oil country is, and these aren't official statistics, these are informal stats that I took.
Okay.
But I would say that 95% of the people who went through the criminal justice system at that time out there, had it not been for drugs and alcohol, it would never have happened. So what I was noticing is that we were having these people come again and again and again through the system. And I know the system was I understood what was going on, but the system, of course, was getting very, very frustrated. And during that, yeah. And it's like, oh, not them again, you know? And at that time, during the oil boom, the justice system was just clogged, overwhelmed. Our jails were full in that area, and they were having to ship people waiting for their court date across the state to the edges to other states to mm-hmm. house. Also during that time, all the treatment centers were like a 6-month waiting list if you had the right insurance.
Did you have a lot? What year was this in? Did you have a lot of treatment facilities there in North Dakota?
There's a few, not like other states. Okay. I would say in the capital city of Bismarck, there are 4, I would say, that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So everything at that point in time is just overwhelmed. It wouldn't have, you would have had to have just extensive. We were overwhelmed. North Dakota was during the oil boom with thousands and thousands and thousands of people just descending on these small towns in Western North Dakota.
Lots of money, lots of extra time. Not like they're sitting around doing hobbies after work with all their money. Right. Okay.
Nothing to do out in the prairie, Western North Dakota. And the really nice thing was the prosecutor was very understanding and willing to work with someone who wanted to get help. The judge was willing to consider alternative sentencing, and I, being in recovery, was very much interested in getting people help. So, long story short, the problem is that there was nowhere to get people help. And so they're getting locked up and locked up and locked up and locked up. And again, as I said, had it not been for drugs and alcohol, these crimes wouldn't have been committed. So they're getting locked up, but not getting any help for their alcoholism, their addiction. And so what is going to happen anytime they get out is they're going to repeat. That's just what us alcoholics and addicts do. We repeat this behavior because we don't have a solution. Right at that time. And you were asking about years. This is between 2011, 12, 13. 2013, I came across somebody. I saw them at a conference and they mentioned sober living. And in North Dakota, we did not have sober living in that time. I had lived in South Dakota, Nebraska. I had never heard about sober living, didn't know what it was. This person mentioned it. And so I started my research. As an attorney, I had to research everything. And I went to Southern California, where this person was from. And I researched, I stayed in the home. I talked to everybody, community leaders, alumni, business owners, the current residents. I just talked to everybody. And then
footwork. Okay. You didn't just sign, you didn't just like go through a rehab and put a little sign on the wall saying open for business. I love that. I love that. Okay, continue. Sorry.
That's okay. I traveled in other places as well. I went out to the East Coast. I went to the West Coast. I wanted to find out what the success rates were. I wanted to know which was the best type of program, if you will, what works, what doesn't work, because I was very suspicious. I'm not wanting to get involved in something that I'm not convinced of. What I saw was, what I saw was just extraordinary. And what I saw was that if somebody, and the model that I follow, and I found it in Southern California, there's this great, there still exists, called Puente House in Covina, California, and others down there, and they follow this particular model. And what the statistics show is if people stay in that type of house with that type of structure and that type of program, they have a 75% success rate of staying sober for 10 years, continuous 10 years. Now they stop tracking after 10 years. It's just assumed that if 10 years, it costs money to track them. So after 10 years, they stop tracking them. That's extraordinary, because what we're finding is if someone goes to treatment, the typical 30-day treatment, the success rate is 3 to 7% staying sober for only 1 year. I mean, if that. Yeah.
How can we change people's behavior and thinking in 30 days?
Well, and I am not criticizing treatment. I believe in treatment. And I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what treatment is, what sober living is, and what recovery is, and the lines get blurred. And how I define, or how I look at treatment, is that it is essential, often essential for many, many people to be separated from the active use of alcohol and drugs. They need that help. They need medical detox. They need that separation from it so that their minds can start clearing up, coming online again, because they're not functioning. So they need that separation. And what I believe a good treatment does is break down the resistance in that person to recovery.
I feel like I should be taking notes. You're phenomenal. No, I'm serious. You're phenomenal. You're phenomenal. Go ahead, please keep going. You have my undivided attention, Judith. I do a lot of interviews. Continue. I love your program, by the way. I worship your program. I just wish so many people would follow what you do. I interview a lot of places, but I don't interview programs like yours. I don't know if you could call yourself a program, or I don't know what you call yourself. So we'll get into that. But I'm long-term sobriety, and I love what you do. I have goosebumps. I love, Judith, what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've got tears. It warms my heart.
Thank you.
Okay, so go ahead.
All right. Okay.
You are saving lives by just doing the structure that you're doing.
Lives are being saved. It is
Yes.
extraordinary. So what is the problem? Why are there such low numbers for treatment? 3 to 7% for just a year. And what we're finding out is that it's not the treatment per se, but the bridge from treatment back into society is missing. There's no bridge. So let's say you go to treatment. Normally you don't go to treatment unless your entire life has been burned to the ground. This may mean criminal charges, loss of job, loss of place to live, loss of family, break down the relationship, just all your resources, financial, because I find that us alcoholics and drug addicts, if we have any resources left, we will use those before we get into treatment, right? We'll run
good old plan B is still there. God,
right.
I still got plan B.
Right. And so all that is gone. You have that 30 days where it is breaking down your resistance to recovery, and your mind is coming online, and it's like, yes, I would like this. But you walk out the door after 30 days and you're alone. And you don't have transportation. You may not have a car, driver's license. You got criminal charges. You don't have a job. You've lost your job. You've got bills just stacking up, seemingly overwhelming problems in life, and they're too hard. I mean, even when I think of it, I'm 13 years sober now, and it's like, how do you rebuild a life alone with no resources? And so we're like, just say no, just don't do that. Where are they gonna go? We go back to, and they're afraid, and they don't feel like they have any options, nor do they have a network, or they're not plugged in. And so they're going to go back to their own life, and it's so overwhelming that they are going to pick up the only solution that they know, and that is alcohol and drugs. So that bridge from treatment back into sobriety or into society and recovery is missing. That is what is so valuable about a structured, supportive, and fully sober living, because it provides that bridge. And what that bridge is that it helps someone in the material issues, like affordable housing, safety, support, structure, and funnels them so that that's all taken care of, or it's made easy while they're making recovery their number one priority.
So let me go back a little bit. So here you are, you're working with all these men, you're out in the camp, you're realizing you go now and you do research. You are researching all over the United States. I guess you call picking and choosing all the best of the best of the best.
Yes.
Right? So you take the cream off the top, and then what?
And I develop a program.
Okay, so
I steal the best from everywhere, and I developed what ended up being Hope Manor. We are a 501c3.
I love that. Bravo to you. Bravo.
And it's the only way we can survive up here, because I deal with what we call low bottom alcoholics and addicts. And that's just a slang term, if you will, for those who have lost everything, that are living on the street, behind buildings, under, just the low bottom prison. People who have nothing left. And so we take them in. So what happened is I saw that this worked, and I was inspired, but I didn't know really what to do about it. I started talking to people, asking people, do you want to partner with me? No one was interested, because it's like, you can't make money there. That is not a money making. We don't even know if it's going to work. So what ended up happening was I finally said, if I'm going to do this, I need to do this, apparently alone. And I went to the bank, and I found out that I found a house. I found the perfect place, the perfect house that would take 13 women and close to downtown, walking distance to employment, walking distance to 12-step meetings. It was just perfect, safe, nice neighborhood, all these things. And so I went and I asked the bank how much equity I had in my own personal home. And it just so happened that it was exactly 20%, what the 20% that I needed to make a down payment on this house. It was just the same amount, because you have to come up with 20% down payment. So I said, well, will you let me refinance, get that equity, and then loan me the rest of the money for this house? And the bank said yes. And that was the beginning of Hope Manor and Hope Manor Foundation. And that was, so I did that in September of 2013. I closed on the house January 1st of 2014. I flipped the house, got it ready, purchased, beds and everything that you would need for 13
linens and
everything,
toiletries and nightstands and lamps and pillows. I know and it's a chore. Women need a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's like I didn't realize, everything down to trash cans. What do I need?
Right, a broom and a dustpan and the glasses and silverware and all that stuff. A washer machine and cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
Yes, it was something. But so in 15 days, I flipped it and got it ready. And we took in the first women on the 15th of January, 2014, we opened. And we have been going ever since. Then what happened was I filled up immediately. And because we were the first and only in the entire state. Now there's quite a few, because other people, and I've helped other people in other cities set up this in around North Dakota, and other people have just taken it upon themselves to do other things. Not exactly the same model, but that's up to them.
Right.
But we were immediately full.
Oh, I'm sure they were probably sitting at the door the day the door opened.
Yeah, we had a waiting list. Well, when I say we, it was.
I understand.
It was just me.
Oh my God.
No one's getting paid. I took a leave of absence. It was what I did in January. I took a leave of absence to the end of February, thinking that I can do this and practice law. That's how I'm going to make my living. This, I'll do it and it'll run smoothly. And obviously everyone is going to be well behaved, like myself, and do the right thing. I guess I didn't take into account how much work it was going to be. So I took a leave of absence for January, February 2014, and I have never gone back. It just got bigger and bigger.
Who stayed at the house with the girls?
What I did was I found somebody in recovery themselves who had a year of sobriety, but didn't have their lives yet really put back. It takes a while to put back your life. And I started talking to her and I said, would you want to be a part of something?
Wonderful.
And it would be free housing. I didn't pay anyone, but you can have a free bed.
Right.
And you get to be a part of something. So they
the head cat herder for now until we get to work out the kinks. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what they were responsible for doing is just checking the choice. It's like being the parent or the elder sibling.
Right.
They check chores. They make sure that, they just basically are my eyes and ears, because I can't be there all the time.
Right. And I wish I had it with me right now. I read your list of requirements. This isn't a come in and lay on the couch kind of place. This isn't if you want to be a slacker and just not use and drink, you can hang out here and be there. This is not this kind of place. This isn't, you pay $750 and you can hang out here and oopsie, if you have a little slippy poo, hit the door and come back. No, this isn't. No. This is a working house. So let me ask you this. How did you come down with, I can't remember, do you have a list of your application rules with you, or do you know them?
I know them pretty much by heart. Yes.
Yeah, can we talk a little bit about those? I mean, this, I can't believe I didn't print them. Shame on me, because the first time I read them, I said, I love this woman. I love this woman. I love what she's doing, because this is about accountability, and accountability will change the lives of an alcoholic and addict.
Right.
It will give them self-esteem. It will give them purpose, and it'll also teach them right, not right and wrong, but it will hold them accountable for, it will teach them responsibility within themselves.
That's very true. And the other thing is that in active addiction and drinking, our lives are chaos, absolute chaos. And we become used to that. And that's all we know. And we look it in general, I'm not saying everybody.
Yeah.
I was what you would refer to as a functional alcoholic. I maintained, but so many, especially the people that I deal with at Hope Manor, been locked up, started using at 12, 13, didn't go to, didn't have a career, didn't go to college, haven't been in professional places, have just survived.
Just couch surfed, or whatever the case was, abuse.
You do what you have to do. You do what you have to do. And so there is very little life skills, and time management, budgeting, non-existent, or even how to care for yourself. I mean, on our rules, we have that you need to shower or bathe daily, because there are people that come that is not part of their life. You descend into the hell of addiction and alcoholism far enough, and you lose your dignity. You lose the ability to live as we would, a human being with hygiene and just knowing how to care for yourself, or dental, anything. And so we have on the rules, or the requirements, that you have to shower or bathe daily. But more importantly, perhaps what you were referring to is by 9:30, they have to be up and their beds have to be made, and everybody has a chore. Because with people living together, that place needs to be clean and kept in an environment that is non-chaotic. We try and keep a very Zen-like or calm and organized. And they start learning the value and the pleasure of living in an organized environment where you know where everything is, and you're not rushing around screaming, "Where are my keys?" because you can't find your keys and you got to get to work. But everything is just in its place, and they have their space, and they got to keep that space nice and neat. So everything has to be bed made. And I'm not just saying throwing up the covers. It is like military. I mean, it's clean, it's made. I could take you through the house at any point on any day, and every bed will be made and everything will be in its place. It doesn't matter. You can surprise us. And that's how it is. They have to apply for several jobs every day until they get one. They have to work minimum of 20 hours, because like you said, if you're going to give me a spot to stay, I will lay on that couch and watch TV all day and expect you to care for me.
Absolutely.
In addiction, we just take and take and take. And here's one more person that's going to let me stay there. And I tell them that this is not a hotel. You want a hotel or a spot, you can go somewhere else. This is a family. This is a recovery community, and we all pitch in together. So everybody has chores. That the houses are cleaned from top to the bottom every day, just like normal stuff. Cleaning the bathrooms, just because it needs to be clean. The rules are that they can't eat anywhere but the kitchen and dining room. You cannot take food into the bedrooms, because that gets gross and people don't know how to be responsible. Not even drinks, not pop, not sticky stuff. You can take water anywhere, but food and drink stays in these spots. You have to sign in and out wherever you go, and you record who you're with, how you're getting there, where you're going, and when you're going to be back. And they have to be back when they say.
This sounds like horror for a new person. But in the, I mean, it really does. Now, listen, I was a new person. I'd say, oh, well, I could do this. I want to people please. But then after a bit, it's kind of like, this is militant. This is horrible. But I understand being able, first of all, living non-chaotic, drama-free.
Oh, yes.
That, I mean, that would just be, I go and I speak at a lot of recovery places, and I go to a lot of, and I've worked in a lot, and I've volunteered in a lot. First of all, the beds aren't all made. They're just like lumpy, and there's clothes everywhere, and the closets are beaming out. And, you know, I understand what you're saying.
Oh, yes.
So
I travel and I go into a lot of homes, and yeah.
So I saw your list of rules.
There's a difference.
And that will make a foundation for honest, thorough, spiritual recovery, because it unclouds the mind.
Yep. I can tell you that in the moment, and here's the difference though, the more desperate people are, the more willing that they are to accept this. If you haven't gotten desperate and lost everything and maybe lived on the street a little bit, you may think these rules are excessive. But regardless, most people, when they come in, they're like, oh my gosh, you know, this is crazy, but I have no other option. So I'm going to go for it. And then when they live there for a while, it becomes second nature. It really does. At the first glance, it seems like a lot. But after a month, it becomes second nature, and your life gets into a rhythm that people actually start to enjoy. I know where I'm supposed to be tomorrow. I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I know how I'm going to get there. I know that I have the money to get there, or the means to get there. I know when I'm supposed to come back. I know who, you know, it really does give you a sense of security that if you are interested in recovery, it becomes a real valuable tool in rebuilding your life, suiting up and showing up and paying your bills and things like that. And then we have alumni. We have one meeting a month that alumni come back and they speak and tell about their experiences, and alumni after alumni after alumni, they'll get up and they get to say anything, obviously, because they don't live with us.
Right.
And they're not worried about what I think at all. And they'll say they hated it. They hated it. They'll tell funny stories about conflicts or whatever. And they'll say, at first I hated it, but it changed my life. And it's so funny because they'll say, I still make my bed today. I'll still do my monthly deep cleaning, because we have deep cleaning once a month. I'll still do my deep cleaning. We still hear from, oh, it's deep cleaning weekend, from alumni. I still live on a time budget. I still live on a financial budget. It has changed my life. So at the beginning, they don't like it, but it does. They're life skills. That's what it is.
That's how we become productive members of society. Right. When we clear away the wreckage of our past, we create new habits, etc. We eventually teach other people, like the 12 step, you know, and we move on. That is fabulous. So you've got a woman's home, right? You've got all these women, which is amazing. And then didn't you open up a secondary home?
Yes, within, like, because I kept having to turn people away, and I never will forget, this young girl was sobbing. She had been couch surfing, young girl, like 21, couch surfing from person to person, wherever she could get. And the night before, she had been raped at where she was. And she called me and she said, please, 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 please. And I didn't have a bed, and it broke my heart. And I said, can you stay on the phone? I can get you into a women's shelter. I can get you somewhere. Can you just hold on and just let me try and find a bed until a bed opens up at Hope Manor? And she said, I won't last that long, and hung up. And I could not get out of my mind her sobs, and this broken little girl that had been just the lives that we live and the experiences we have while we're out there.
Right.
especially for women. And I'm saying men do not get victimized, but it's a dangerous life.
Yes.
So I couldn't get that out of my head. And so by about July, I had done some more refinancing and I got a second women's house. And then I believe 5 years later, or 5 years ago, I believe it's 5 years ago, I finally opened a men's house. Everybody said, well, what about the guys? What about, and I'm like, what about them? Let a guy do that. I've got my hands full, but no one was doing it. And we didn't have a men's sober living home anywhere in the state. And so then I opened it up and honestly, quite honestly, I am looking to open a second men's house right now. I have 16 men on the waiting list that are on the streets. They check in, they come in every week asking, they stop in physically, which is very surprising. And they're begging, do you have a bed? Do you have a bed? And we said, I'm sorry, you got to check in next week. We just don't know. And 16 guys and that's active. That there's more on the waiting list, but 16 guys that are actively checking in, begging for a bed, and it breaks my heart. But right now I don't have a house and I don't have the financial means to get another one. So we're just seeing what unfolds. We'll see. It breaks my heart, and that's what I'm just keeping my eyes open and looking for different opportunities. And if it's meant to be, something will show up, something will end up happening, and we'll get another one opened.
Oh, Judith, that's heartbreaking. I know it's like we can't save everybody, and God will just the opportunity will present itself, just like the first house, just like the second house,
Yeah.
and then this is I've talked to a lot of people who own homes, and I love your structure and I love what you've done, and it breaks my heart that there's 16 men actively calling you looking for a bed. Hold on, I'm going to back up a little bit. So how long do your residents stay with you?
We require a minimum of 3 months. We don't bring in anyone that are like, oh, I just need a few weeks or to look good for court or a month or whatever. Sometimes we'll take in someone for 3 months. And usually the situation of that is a mother that is in a marriage, a family that has children, and they have to get back to their children.
Okay.
We don't like it to be that short, but it still works. It works if they're desperate and they're like, these would be mothers and that desperately need what we have, but they can't leave their children or
Right.
the family structure for very long. And we have wonderful success with them. If that's why, it's because I have responsibilities that I have, mainly children I have to get back to. But we won't look at people that I just need a place to stay for a month. We're not a homeless shelter. We're not a hotel.
Right.
And we're not transition living in that way. This is our home. So we recommend minimum of 9 months.
Perfect.
And people will say, that's so long. But no, it's not like you're in a facility. You're in a home.
Mm-hmm.
You go to work. You can go out into the community and socialize. You can be involved in things. We have people that are, in clubs, running clubs or this club or that club. They get to see their family. They get to live a normal life.
Right.
All while they're still in the structure. And curfew, there's curfew, 11 p.m. curfew. But we're holding, and they have to let us know where they are and who they're with.
Mm-hmm.
But you still get to live life. So 9 months, you're rebuilding your entire life. So we recommend minimum of 9 months. You can stay as long. We had one person come to us at 17. We don't normally take minors,
right?
But the police brought her. And dropped off at our doorstep. What are you going to do? And she stayed with us. She dropped out of high school at 15. And I made her, I was like, you're going to do this. She listened to me because she's only 17. Went and got her GED, graduated. And then I said, now it's college. And so she went and she started college. She graduated with an Associate of Arts from the local college with a 4.0.
Wow.
And just so she stayed with us from 17 to 21. And she moved out a year ago in May when she graduated. And now she's off at university as a junior.
Bravo.
I know.
This is bravo, Judith. Bravo.
She was found,
Yay.
this girl, she had been on the streets and used up in the oil fields, sex trade at 15. And she was found by the police with a needle in her arm at Dairy Queen in the bathroom. This girl from 15 to 17 had descended. I mean, had there not been intervention in the form of police or whatever,
Right.
I doubt she would be alive.
Right.
And it's absolutely transformed, and now her life, you would not even recognize the transformation.
Oh,
so she may have been, I think the longest is about 3 years, but it's great because she was going to college and working, and it was really needed, and now she's moved on. But what I want to say is the value, why there's such high success rate. And since 2014, the national success is 75% for 10 years. But since January of 2014, when I opened, and it hasn't been 10 years yet, but I've been keeping stats. Right now, the people who stay with us 9 months or longer is 84% continuous sobriety.
Okay, so wait a minute, 9 months or more is 84% sobriety.
Of staying continually sober. Yep. So yeah, that you can stay for as long as you want, but we see the best statistics at 9 months up. It drops off, 6 months, it's like 50%. 3 months, it's really low, it's like 30%. But why it's so success is
there's those notes. Wait a minute. So 84% at 9 months. Okay, but in a structured program.
Yeah. And the reason why it's so successful is because it builds that bridge from perhaps that treatment or prison or the streets or whatever. It helps build that bridge of recovery into society. And you have your entire life set up in that foundation while you're living in a very, we hold them, we support them, and we keep them accountable, and it's structured. And so really what we like to say is when you leave Hope Manor after that 9 months, the only thing that's going to change in your life is where you put your pillow at night. Everything else is ready. You have transportation. We've pushed you to shoved you to get driver's license, pay off your court costs, fines, fees, back child support, live on a budget, get a job, advance in your career. Take care of any legal issues, take care, you've reunited with family often. In a year, you've been through all the firsts, all those vacations, or not vacations, holidays and the tough things, and maybe even had your first relationship and the first breakup and all life, just the first of living life sober. And more importantly is that we funnel them into where recovery is happening. We don't do the recovery. We funnel them to 12-step programs, and they are required to do a minimum at my home 7 meetings a week of their choice, 12-step.
Right.
And so then they have a sponsor. They've worked the steps. They have new friends. They have developed new habits. They have a support network. They're plugged into the recovery community. So nothing should change when they leave Hope Manor.
So speaking of a recovery community, right, and having this whole new life, you have taken this, and you're the only person I know that has ever done this. You have taken this whole recovery and you have opened up a beautiful place for them to go. Now, looking at your pictures on Facebook, these people are getting married there.
Yes.
They are staying sober. And I've got goosebumps. You are just killing me in this interview. They are moving on with their lives. They're getting sober. I'm seeing children and pregnancies. And so you opened 8 years ago. And these people, is that right?
Yeah. 2014, January.
Yeah. So 8 years ago, these people are getting sober, staying sober, and living. They're becoming productive members of society. Mm-hmm. And they are celebrating their lives under your roof.
Yes, it's been very exciting. We had, I'll give you an example of one couple.
I saw that. I'm just like going, this is the full cycle going on right here, Judith, right under your nose. You have given these people life. Well, you have given the platform and the structure for these people to have a life.
Yeah. I say that I give you opportunities. What you do with them is totally up to you. But let me give you one example of one couple. Okay, so
this is, by the way, I want to explain. This is a place called The Hub. That Judith took her. Am I right? Your IRA or your life savings?
My retirement, cashed out my retirement,
and bought this building. Bought this building.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you go ahead, tell your stories, because these are just mind-bending to me, what you have continued to, this is just mind-bending, what you have continued to do.
Well, what we were doing is I converted one of the garages at one of the homes to a meeting room for us to meet together as a family, all the houses coming together for social events, 4th of July, New Year's Eve parties, the alumni coming back, and also people in 12-step people in the community started renting the garage to have meetings, and we were bursting at the seams. First of all, this garage didn't have a bathroom, so that's number one. Second of all, I put a heater in there and an air conditioning because it gets a little cold here. But no bathroom, and we were bursting. We'd have like 75 people crammed in there for a meeting or for something. And so I started in
Bismarck, North Dakota, the coldest place I have ever been in my life. That in Cleveland, Ohio. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was like, this is a great problem to have. It's a great problem to have that we have residents, we have alumni, we have people in the community, recovery community, wanting to gather, wanting to have social activities, parties, get together. What do you do New Year's Eve when you're sober? We don't know. We have to learn how to have fun. What are we going to do for 4th of July? All these things. So I was like, this is a great problem to have, but how do I solve it? And in 2020, I was driving around and I saw a metal building. And it was you can lease to buy. And what it had been was an indoor skateboard park. But at that point, all that had been taken out. So it was just 5,000 square feet, concrete and steel. It's a steel building. And I was like, oh my gosh, right downtown. This is perfect. So I talked to the guy, the owner, and he says, sure, 20% down. And then we'll do a contract for deed, just pay every month and work towards the end. And so I needed that 20% of pretty much a $500,000 building. So the only way I could find it, the only way I could do it was cash out retirement. And then so we closed on the building.
Have you bumped your head, Judith?
Here's the thing. I personally I've always had enough money until midnight.
God is good.
I've always had it. And before I got sober at 44. I had a great life. I was very, very successful. I was an alcoholic and a drug addict, but I was very successful as an attorney. I had all the toys, convertibles, sports cars, new one every year, brand new Harleys, all the sports equipment, I lived on a river, could, kayak, mountain bikes, trip, whatever I wanted. I squandered everything. And I guess that just after I got sober, it was that I was so blessed never to have any legal issues, never to lose it all. I never ended up homeless. I'm what you call a high bottom drunk, an addict. And I was so blessed. And I'm so thankful for the new life that was given. I'm not a saint. I'm not a saint. And in fact, I'm not at all. I don't do this because I am a good person. I do this because I am so immensely grateful to the people who saved my life. And it's transformed my life. And how can I not? How can I not help others? How can I not? I had a great run. I mean, by great run, I had all the money, all the toys, all the way up to 44. And now I'm old, 57.
Older.
And how can I not give back? And I swear, even though I get afraid financially and I don't have the sports cars anymore and I don't have the fancy this or that anymore, I'm telling you, I have everything I need and more, and I always have enough money till midnight. I've never, ever gone lacking. And I can tell you something else. I may not have all that power that I used to have and the possessions and the prestige that I used to have, but today I have peace and I have freedom, and I would never exchange it to get all that stuff back. I am happy today. So I would never, it's not that I'm a good person. It's just that this way of life is absolutely amazing. And I'm not saying everybody has to do what I do. It's just that, how can I not? I was so blessed. And I think that maybe, just maybe, I was blessed in order to be a blessing to others. I've been put in this unique position that I had some savings and I have some money and I had this opportunity. And why not use it to save a life? What's a life worth? I would do it again if it just saved one life. And I know that hundreds are being saved. So it's worth it.
Okay, so we only have a few more minutes. I loved everything you just said, but I want to talk about the hub and what it is. So you bought this building, it was steel.
Yes. And
with all your savings, you bought a building, a 5,000 square foot building. What are we doing? We got all these people in a garage with no bathroom, freezing in North Dakota. So you bought a building. What'd you do with it?
Yeah, and I talk about thinking you're insane. Here, I bought a building to gather in right at the beginning of a pandemic where we're not allowed to gather. So it was like, what am I doing? Building a community center during a pandemic. But all during 2020, and we did the work ourselves except for electric and plumbing, but we transformed this shell of a building into meeting rooms. There's large meeting room, small meeting room with 81-inch screen, flat screens for Zooming meetings and whatnot. I now have an office rather than working out of my home. There's a full-on coffee shop with fabulous frappuccinos and lattes. It's difficult for me to work here. I spend too much money buying coffee. One of our alumni opened a recovery gift store with clothing and hoodies and books and coins.
For gosh sakes.
Yeah, so we rent that to her. There's a beautiful sitting area with a 100-inch fireplace.
I've seen it all on the website. The links are in this article to go look at the hub. It is amazing. Yeah, I wish I got sober at the hub.
We have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. And like you said, we've had people married here. It just magical. It just gets transformed. But we gather here. But more importantly, there are about different 12-step groups rent the big and small rooms. And there's at least 3 meetings per day of recovery happening in this building. and you can't make this up. The guy who they had to sell this building, he lost the building due to drugs and alcohol. And after 3 months after we opened up, he walked in and we 12-stepped him in this building, and he found recovery in this building that he had lost to alcohol and drugs. So it's come full circle.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
There are no mistakes.
Yeah.
There are no mistakes. And it just started with the guys out in the field in North Dakota with you.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? And
Yeah.
here you are with all these people with boots on the ground, saving lives. Judith, I cannot thank you enough, first of all, for everything you do for all these people. Second of all, for spending time with us today. You are a remarkable individual. And I understand you do this because it is what's in your heart. But thank you from my heart and everybody else's heart for all that you do. So
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you from Recovery Today magazine. And if there's anything we can do for you, you just have to let us know. So thank you. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for another episode of Naked Truth, Boots on the Ground.